Ahoy, mateys! 'Tis I, Captain Horatio Honeyflakes, and I be here to tell you about me newest crowdfunding campaign. The adventures continue with me crew, the Mighty Mascots, in issues 7, 8, and 9. Just focus your looking glass on the amazing artwork of Ian Warianto and Anton Bondi. Me crew, the Mighty Mascots, are up against some scurvy scallywags, and we need ye help to defeat them. There be a bounty of exclusive treasure, only available here, where X marks the spot. I spy a huge coffer of bonuses and stretch goals on the horizon. Then please consider pledging so we can continue these adventures with the weirdest crew I ever had the pleasure of sailing with. Mascots Unleashed!
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Indie Comics Relay. I'm your host, Keith Gleason, creator of the Mighty Mascots and promoter of Plastic City Comic Con. And with me, as always, Johnny C., creator of Sartana and Surrounded by Death. What's up, dude?
What's up, man? A little late start today.
Oh, yeah.
Just a smidge.
Yeah, just a smidge. We have a guest. We have two guests tonight, but one of the guests is having trouble connecting to the StreamYard. I've never had this happen.
Yeah, StreamYard's usually pretty consistent, but
yeah, the 3-year history we've been doing this, I haven't had that happen.
Like I was saying beforehand, and before we launched, was that I'm glad I'm not the one having technical difficulties for once. Normally it's me, and I'm on my cell phone or something bizarre like that, and this time it's not me, and I'm glad.
So as the intro was going, I was talking to Manuel on Instagram, and he's gonna try to get on still, but if he doesn't show up, he may have his Kickstarter partner jump on. So we'll probably have a guest, but we may not have the one we started out or we're supposed to have, so
whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I told him, why don't you both try to come on if you can,
Yeah.
That way,
Manuel, if you're watching this at all, try your cell phone. Don't do it from a computer. Do it from a cell phone.
I told him to also reboot the whole computer.
Or reboot your system.
Yeah. And then, by the time we get started on the show, he'd be back, so We'll see. We'll see. So how's your week going, Johnny?
Oh, it's crazy. Like, as far as work goes, like my personal life work stuff, that's crazy. That's been crazy. It's part of the reason why we're here on Monday night instead of tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Although I'm starting to think I kind of like Monday nights, though. I don't know. We'll have to.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll have to see. Maybe we'll stick with Mondays. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm okay with Mondays if you want to talk about that. I mean, it's been fine. You kind of get it done with, and then you have the whole rest of the week, So
sure.
So
but I also want the viewer to decide, because I know Monday nights we might not be competing with a lot of other comic podcasts, but we probably are competing with Monday Night Football, which is only seasonal, but also Monday Night Raw for the wrestling fans out there. So I know there's a lot of crossover between the two. So, I mean, I don't know. Either way, we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. So either way, it'd be good. I wanted to ask you why it's fresh, and then I didn't get to see Ant-Man yet. Did you see it?
Oh, yes, I did see it.
I have tentative plans to see it Friday, I think, but how was it?
I want to know what everybody's fucking problem is.
That's what I keep, what I've noticed.
What's everybody's fucking problem? It was a really good movie.
Okay. So this is what I've noticed. I've heard bad, like I've seen a lot of bad reviews of it, but the people that I trust about it have been saying it's great. So
yeah, it's good. It feels like a comic book movie. Like,
oh, good.
It's not super woke.
Okay.
So it's like, not that there isn't woke things in it or whatever, but they don't hit you over the head with it. There's not that like girl power Avengers scene. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it was just very blatant.
It's not pandering.
Like fan service. There's no pandering. It's just a straightforward, awesome introduction to Phase 5. Great introduction to King the Conqueror. Better introduction to King the Conqueror than what we saw in Loki. And
Okay.
just a really good Ant-Man story, because it's like it may have not been as continually funny the way the previous Ant-Man movies were, but this one it had a lot of stake.
Oh, good.
It had had a good amount of heart to it.
I
If
like that though, because I think I haven't seen Thor, but every clip I've seen from it, they're kind of made Thor a joke, and I think that kind
Yeah,
of works against, like you said, having all the stakes and like,
you're right, right.
so me, what's that?
So I was just gonna say it's a cross. All right, I'm gonna name two movies that it's a cross between, and if you like those two movies, then you'll most likely like Ant-Man Quantumania. It was a cross between Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Thor Ragnarok. If you
Okay.
like those two movies, then you'll probably like Quantumania.
Okay. Would you say it's the best Ant-Man movie out of the three?
It's tough only because I really like the first one.
Yeah,
Like,
the first one is really
first
good.
one's awesome. So
Because it's like they took this character that you couldn't give two craps about and made him into something, and then Paul Rudd kind of just added that extra element to make the character really pop.
yeah, Paul Rudd definitely wins this movie and wins the series thus far. It's he's very good. Like almost every scene and moment with Paul Rudd in the previous movies are typically jokey, but when it came down to the serious stuff in this, it didn't feel awkward because he's typically a comedian. It felt legitimate, and I like that a lot. I thought that was really good.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see it then. I've been looking forward to it because out of all the MCU stuff, he's my favorite character of the MCU. Not necessarily the comic book, but that character in the MCU is my favorite.
Right, right, right. And I like
But
that Scott Lang is basically rooted in being like a former like prison person, like just former
prisoner, like a
criminal. Yeah,
criminal.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, former prisoner, or criminal. Like I think that's just like kind of cool because now he's an Avenger. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
it just goes to show it's like anybody could be Avenger if their head and their heart are in the right spot, you know?
Yeah, I love that. And I always said the thing that's cool about Ant-Man in a movie is that in comics, when someone shrinks in a comic book, it's almost never cool to look at on a comic page, but in a movie, that looks awesome.
Awesome.
You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Same thing with
There's
Iron
nothing.
Man. Like Iron
Yeah,
Man, like when he's using all his missiles and everything, like all his powers, or the repulsor, it doesn't look as cool in the comic as it does look on a live action movie, So
that's for sure. There's nothing cooler than the jumping and punching effect that they do,
yeah, I love
and
that too.
sizing to scale when they do that, and when they do it
Yeah.
in slow motion, it looks awesome. Like it's that's part of what makes the Ant-Man movie so good. And one more thing I wanted to mention about it before we move on, because I know we're running late, was fucking MODOK.
Was it
MODOK was
good?
the shit.
Oh,
He's
really?
not
Nice.
the MODOK from the comics.
Okay.
But and obviously, if you saw the preview, you saw that it looks very familiar. It's they basically brought back Yellow Jacket Darren Cross, the actor Corey Stoll, to play MODOK. So he has some of the
Oh.
MODOK vibes
Okay.
and personality, but it's still very much that character from Ant-Man 1. And I love the way that it acts as a continuation of that character, but also as introducing MODOK to the MCU as a character. You know what I mean? Which I thought was,
Interesting.
yeah, it was
Okay.
really cool.
Yeah,
It's a good
I'm
way to
looking
fit
forward
him
to
in
see
there.
it. It's a good way to what?
Good way to fit MODOK in there. Like, they did
Gotcha.
something really clever, I thought.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, that looks good. Oh yeah, I wanted to just before we I forgot to do this last week because I knew we were in a hurry, but I wanted to
Bring up the
share
campaign.
Yeah, I wanted to share it real quick.
Let's bring it up.
And then also go to the chat before we bring in the guests. So Mighty Mascot, I'm so close to 8,000. It's like
on the
nipping
edge
at me. It's I think once I get those figures, I think it'll help us push it the rest of the way.
For sure. Yeah, I think. Well, I think because it's going to be an add-on, right?
Yes, I'm gonna do the 4 sets, and then you can buy. I'll probably add 5 perks. The 4 sets, and then 1 perk of all of them. Together, so that way you can pick and choose. But yeah, it's coming along. Issue 7 and 8 are pretty much done. I just have final tweaks to the artwork and final edits to the lettering and things like that. Like I'm constantly tweaking, going back and rereading it, and changing lines and things like that. I kind of do that a lot right until print, so just trying to make it the best it could be, so
well,
so
just an idea. I was going to say one figure out of the set. So they have like the build the figure.
Yeah.
Well, you can't break up the figure, but you could make one of the characters exclusive if you buy the full set, right?
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. I tried to pair them like in sets that like you would get like one, like I try to base it off of how I felt like people would thought which ones are the more popular ones versus the least popular, and I tried to pluck one of the popular ones and the least popular ones and put them together in a set, that way, because it always works that way, right? You always got.
Is it a complete set, or do you have one that's off?
No, it's 4 sets of 2.
Oh, okay.
So
create one more and make it the exclusive.
I know that'd be great. I'm hoping the guy gets them to me. He said February. Well, first he said January. Now I'm here in February, and I'm thinking it's probably going to be more like March, but we'll see.
Don't feel bad. There's still 2 tiers of my Kickstarter I've promised delivery to that we're still working on. So we'll get there eventually.
I'm hoping I'll have everything ready to go by the summer, but we'll see. It's still a little ways off. But so if you guys haven't backed it, the link is in the description of the video, so check that out. Let's all go to the chat too. See who's here with us tonight. Amy is saying Happy President's Day, everyone.
Oh, Happy President's Day.
And I forgot about, I knew, like, did you have today off? I didn't.
I did have today off. I was
lucky.
You
did, you lucky bastard.
Yeah. I mean, I did chores all day, but I had today off.
Oh, you lucky bastard. So weird that I wish my job would make that a holiday. Maybe someday they will.
You know what's weird? I work for a European company, their corporate office, and I had today off, which is very much a U.S. holiday. So.
Oh, gotcha.
Very, very strange, but
Ara's with us. Hey,
Ara, what's up, man?
Jeremy Courtney, good evening,
Jeremy.
Boys. Good to see you, Jeremy.
Love seeing Jeremy in the chat.
Yeah, right. Me too. I haven't seen him in a while. I saw him at a show last year, I think, and we caught up for a little while, which was nice,
Yeah, it's always good to see him.
Harry with us as any Monday show should be called Monday Night Draw. I like that.
I like that. That's a good one.
Let me see. We got some more. Amy says she's working on the Plastic City map while she's watching. Very cool. Did I tell you we jumped from so at the Wallace where we used to do the show, we had about 140 tables, I think, including the upstairs stuff. And we're jumping from that to about 250.
Whoa,
which is crazy, dude.
Is it all filled, or are you still taking applications?
I'm still taking applications. Okay. I got about 100 tables filled so far. So
that's good.
We're halfway there, and it's still early in the year. What's up?
You can space things out,
Yeah. I figured I could. Or
is making the map, and this is probably a question more for Amy, but is making the map kind of like trying to seat people at a wedding, where you're like, I can't put this person next to Uncle Leo because Uncle Leo's a Republican, and then that causes problems with the Democratic aunt from the other side of the family.
There's a little bit of that, but it's also more importantly is getting those measurements right, like knowing the actual measurements and how much space you need, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, we're getting there,
Nice.
Ara said looking forward to being at Plastic City.
Looking forward to seeing you there, Ara.
Maybe okay. Maybe they're talking about Ant-Man. Maybe people are down on Ant-Man because they're still mad at Evangeline Lilly for being anti-vax.
So
was she really? I didn't even know that.
Why weren't they mad at the girl who plays Shuri? Because she was anti-vax too. You know what I mean? That's
the one I heard about. I didn't even hear about Evangeline Lilly being that way, but I don't pay attention to much to the news anyway.
Yeah, screw politics.
What did she say? The new venue is awesome. I think people will really like it. Yeah, I definitely.
Looking forward to
Jeremy said the previous movies were a joke to me. What? this one looks really good, but I'm not rushing out to see it. But that's my personal opinion. I know I'm pretty alone in thinking, especially with the first movie. Yeah, I think
This one's
so.
tripped out. I saw it in IMAX 3D, and it was worth it because it's like the visuals were insane in that regard. The microverse or the quantum realm, which, you know, if you're a comic reader, it's the microverse.
Yeah,
The microverse it was just really cool visually. It felt like Star Wars, and there was all sorts of weird alien creatures, and you know, that's kind of where that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 vibe comes in, as you see all these unique ancillary characters that are surrounding the main cast.
gotcha. Ben Soto with us. What's up, man?
What up,
Good to
Ben?
see you here, buddy. Let me see. Oh, yeah, Ant-Man was a fun ride. So Manuel's watching us.
Manuel saw it, yeah.
There is
Oh,
somebody in the
watching us.
back room.
He's the guest.
I know.
Manuel, try your cell phone, bud.
CL, he's filling in for Manuel. So yeah, we'll have
All
to
right,
talk to
CL, we'll
when
bring you in.
So yeah, so now that we got caught up with the chat, and Ben said he enjoyed Ant-Man too. I got to see it. I'm looking forward to it.
It's good. I don't know what the problem was.
Yeah, I'll let you know once I see it. I'll text you because I tentative plans Friday night, hopefully. So we'll see.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, let's bring in the guests. You know,
Let's
like
do it.
So
Yeah,
we'll get
waiting.
started since we're way behind here.
Way,
So
way
let's
late.
start with Scott. Harris King is with us. How you doing, Scott?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm here on the couch of solitude.
Oh,
Yeah, I
we love
like
it, Scott.
that.
You're looking cozy.
I
I
love
love
I
it.
think
like
you might be the first guest to ever come in with the pillow.
Fuck, I'm gonna
and
start
all.
doing that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna just
well,
I
do
know,
it from
right?
bed.
That's so good.
I like to be as relaxed as possible when I'm talking about comic
I like
books,
that.
So,
What
I've
do you?
got
Is it like a laptop on your belly situation or what?
I have a desk that has a tilting table. So
Oh,
I've
nice,
got,
nice.
Like,
Very nice.
like for someone in a hospital gurney. So I've got one of
Gotcha.
those right here.
Nice.
No, that's great. And then let's bring in our second guest, CL Zeno. Is that how you say it?
CL.
That's right.
Zeno?
Yeah. Hey guys,
CL. I know
not
you're not
to,
Manuel, but welcome to the show. You know.
hate to disappoint, but also not to take Ant-Man for too much longer. I did think that Hank and Janet had the most to do in this movie than any movie. Like we've
Yes.
seen flashbacks of them in the suit and everything for maybe a minute, right? Like
Yeah.
tops.
Oh, good.
But they're in and they're in the action, they're fighting, they're doing stuff, and it's really cool to see them as well.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
the only, I guess, gripe I have is I would have loved to have seen them suit up, like officially suit up in their old gear or something. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
I heard like the one thing I've been trying to avoid spoilers left and right, but I heard the one thing about this movie is Kang definitely takes a step up towards being like the next Thanos of the
In a big
MCU.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Interesting. So yeah, definitely gonna check it out.
I'm sorry, Kang's a lot more interesting than Thanos.
But, yeah.
Particularly in the comics. I don't like Thanos in the comics. He's much better in the movies, but I find him to be pretty boring in the comics. But Kang's the best.
Well,
Yeah,
you know,
Kang
there's a
is great,
council of
especially if they
Kangs.
bring
There ain't
in
a
the-
council of Thanoses.
Well, that and especially if they bring in the Immortus stuff too would be fantastic. But
For the credit, you'll
I
be
agree
happy.
with you, Scott, because
Yeah, if you're a
I
big Kang
always
fan, you'll be happy.
Oh, nice. I agree with Scott though, because I always thought that Thanos was just a bargain basement dark side, and I always thought Darkseid was so much better than the comics than Thanos was.
I'm the opposite way.
Are
I
you?
like Thanos? Yeah, I like the Mad Titan.
Okay. I feel like he was his best when Jim Starlin wrote him, but
Amen.
Yeah.
But
Even then, like I was a big Silver Surfer fan. I got the tattoo and everything.
oh, nice, man.
Oh, nice, dude.
I like that.
But yeah, when he shows up with like the Infinity Gems or whatever, they start the Soul Gems, and just that's how they start off Infinity War is like Silver Surfer getting his butt kicked and everything. I was like, whoa, this guy means business. Like I was
Yeah,
not
man.
ready for that.
Yeah,
that
Thanos
whole-
wrecking house is pretty cool to me.
That was when Marvel did events like
Yeah.
those weren't like just a throwaway event. That was like, shit happened, like, chain,
What-
like,
yeah,
and like how many Infinity things did they do after, and it
Yeah.
flew out into other series.
And they totally used the Hulk for that to show how strong he is, and then send him to Earth. I'm like, oh my god, this dude's coming. We gotta get ready.
yeah, that was
So
great.
the one thing I really liked about the comic version that it wasn't really well represented in the films, maybe, but was that like they almost everybody turned to Adam Warlock to take on
Yeah.
Thanos in the comics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And the MCU really didn't have that per se. There wasn't like one character where everybody turned to.
Nope.
I mean, it was kind of by default Iron Man, but you know,
Yeah.
like I wish there was more of like that powerful being on our side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you
Oh,
even tell, like with Jim Starlin, like how do you even tell a Thanos story without his antithesis, Adam Warlock? You know, like it almost
Right.
seemed wrong for a little
Right,
bit.
right.
Yeah, it's almost like no one else should do those characters but Starlin, you know. But no, I love talking comics with you guys. So like the one thing, like since you guys are both brand new guests, like we always start the show off with origins. Like, you know, we love to know how both of you guys got into comics. Was it like was there a special comic or a cartoon or something that you saw when you were a kid that said that put it in your brain that like, hey, I want to be doing this one day, like I want to be writing comics? Was there something that you guys can point to that kind of, I guess we'll start with Scott.
I mean, so my origin story is, you know, as a kid, I of course had seen comic strips and stuff like that, but the first comic I bought was Black Hawk 269,
Okay.
Mark Evanier and Dan Spiegel. And it was just an immediate, like, I don't know what, it just flipped something in my brain. I went home with that first, I had bought 2 issues, 269, 270. I went home, I got out my Trapper Keeper. I got one of those like a file folder, and I wrote a checklist of all the issues of Blackhawk in it, and I crossed off 269, 270, and I was just a collector. Like as soon as I read the first comic, I was in forever. And you know, it just, I was already writing like stuff as a kid before that, so it was just, I knew I wanted to write comics. And I guess a big moment for me was reading the 1986 Overstreet Price Guide, because
really?
Jim Shooter wrote a thing in there for the 25th anniversary of Marvel.
Okay.
And he talked about how he got into comics, and he started writing Legion of Superheroes when he was 13 years old.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
Yeah, and so
crazy.
I was 13 when I read that story from him, and I thought, well, if he could write comics when he's 13, so can I. And I started submitting stuff to Marvel when I was 13, and they just send me back these nice letters like, that's great, but please stop sending us this crap. But so, like, you know, it's just, but that was a big thing because it made me think I could do it. So, yeah, I always have been, you know, working towards
That's
that.
true.
Sense.
I didn't even think about that. Like, if you think about like how influential that was, like that somebody your age could send a comic in, write comics, and also run Marvel, for God's sakes, you know?
Yeah.
That is
Craziness.
crazy. Isn't that nuts? I mean, I can't even know I wouldn't even know what the hell I was doing at 13. Probably like staring at the wall, picking my nose or something. But like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, I can't even fathom that. Like, if I wrote a script and sent it, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know, but it's awesome. It's really cool.
I like to think that that's the exception to the rule, right? Like,
yeah,
you know,
definitely.
It was a different time. It was a different thing.
Different,
yeah.
you know, like just hit the right person when it went in there, you know?
Right.
How about you, CL? Is there something? Well, tell us a little bit of your origin.
I've been drawing my whole life. Like ever since I was a little kid, I was just doodling on the you know, like the white paper that they put on the restaurant tables, like with the crayons. I'd go right off the menu and go right onto the table. So like my dad was a single dad, so he was always looking for a deal. And he would get me those Marvel Essentials. Because they would have like 20 issues and it's $20, and so they're $1 a piece. So you can't beat that. Like that's a steal. So
they were newsprint, black and white, like,
dude,
you know,
like
real
the
cheap, but
you could print. Yeah,
good, but got the job
Cheap,
done though.
But
you know?
also the good stuff, like the Stan Lee Spider-Man.
Yes.
You know, like the
like,
early thing.
What hooked it for me was the Stan Lee and John Buscema run on the Silver Surfer.
Okay.
And like I just felt like I was being treated like an adult, you know, at like 8 or whatever. They're like, "Oh, you get it, right?" You know, like he's seen as like an alien, like the government hates him, like all those themes of like, you know, the alien coming to Earth and being more human than the humans, and like actually not being the monster, like the stuff he does with the Hulk, and like it's so like emotional but also like cerebral at the same time. Like that writing, I really it resonated with me. And even if, you know, I was just reading the little like, you know, hey, true believer, read this issue if you want to know more or whatever. I was like, oh, okay, I'll do that. Like, Stan was definitely like my.
But when
like,
you're a kid, you're like, how can I get that? Like, I don't even know
Yeah.
where to go. Like, you know.
I was like, thanks, I'll do that. Yeah, like I was grounded all the time, so all I could do was read. And that was probably better for me because I was reading comics. So,
That's
and it was
awesome.
like, my dad was so supportive of my habit of like drawing and reading and stuff. So he got me like the How to Draw Comics, the Marvel Way book,
Yeah, that's a great book.
How to Self-Publish Your Own Comic Book by Tony Capullo or Greg Capullo. Like just all those, you know, self-help drawing books and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's great.
So, and
Did he now? Here's a true test. Did he get you the Marvel cookbook?
No, I did get that for my stepdaughter.
Okay.
A couple Christmases ago, the new one.
Well, they also had I don't know if you would ever take this seriously, but they had a Marvel fitness book at one point too, where you do exercises.
They're just trying to capitalize anywhere they can.
Oh God, yes.
I was definitely reading the encyclopedia, right, of like A through Z everything comics, and I was like, oh, okay. I'd learn about all of these comic characters and creators before even reading the books, and then I'd go seek out the books and everything from the encyclopedia.
That's a good way of going about it too, because those I had that encyclopedia as well, the early edition. I think I collected it as far up into the early 2000s, but it's like they'll give you everything, even the obscure characters. So like, you know, you could read a book and go, oh, that's that guy. You know, oh, they're reintroducing this character. It was like it gave you all that context in advance.
Yeah, that's
and then
cool.
When I got my my own job and everything, I was able to get into comics as an adult. To date myself, it was during like the Mike Allred Silver Surfer #1 and like the Guardians run from like 2013.
Oh, okay.
Yep. That's a great run. That's Dan Abnett's run on Guardians. It's friggin' phenomenal.
That's when they they remade them right into what they are now.
For like the Marvel Now, all new Marvel Now, and like it doesn't seem like that long ago, but like as a fan that basically was like 18, 19, like in the target demographic, I think, for some of these titles, like seeing Sam Wilson, Captain America in the comic 10 years ago, and now he's in the movies, and Miss Marvel, and now she's got a show. And, you know, it's actually really cool that fans that aren't even that old can also get that new, like the Spider-Verse series came out when I was collecting as an adult, and now there's 2 movies, and it's just like, wow, this is like so much more fan service than I ever could have hoped for.
That was also my favorite era of Thunderbolts, because it was Red Hulk, Elektra, Punisher, Deadpool, and Agent Venom, and it was just so cool because it was there's these unlikely group of people all crammed together, and it's like what better squad you have for a Thunderbolts than these guys,
Yeah.
So CL, were you always an drawing? Like, did you want to be drawing comics, or
that's a good question. Like I said, I have been drawing my whole life. I was in the Navy, so when I went on my deployment,
thank you for your service.
Thank you for your
service.
I do on my deployment. I found that I like to write a lot, and so I was writing my independent comic, Drunk Mom. I wrote like 3 or 4 issues of it. We can talk about that
What was it called?
It's called Drunk Mom.
Yeah. Yes, I want to read that. I want to read that.
So yeah, I've written like 12 issues since that deployment. I wrote the Avandrus Theory, like 2/3 of it. It's like I turned into a very prolific writer. Like I was basically writing like fan fiction, and I was like, what am I doing? Like I need to be writing like stuff that I actually care about.
That's cool though. Like at least you found because everyone in high school did that. Like the Drunk Mom thing, where you just went to Kinko's and folded 4 sheets of paper together and stapled it, and you had a comic. So
people are still doing it at SPX. That's all I saw were zines.
I got a whole stack of comics I did in like high school in the other room. That I kept. It's just I think it's just the way people did things.
Mm-hmm.
Or you practice until you could actually make a real real comic book.
So I'm excited to finally be getting into digital art and making not zines but like actual comics now.
So
this is
are
my
you
first
completely
one, so-
digital? You completely
Yeah,
digital
yeah.
now?
I do like the old school process of doing like the pencils, inks, everything. Even like doing flow where you scan some of that in. It's a lot of stress for me. Inking and everything. Like it's so much easier digitally. Like I'm more
That's
productive.
what I hear. Scott, are you digital now, or are you still?
Yeah, I do all digital. Like
You do all digital too.
yeah, I mean these days, like I've been working with artists who are drawing most of my comics now, but I'm still drawing like the variant covers and stuff because I do like to do those.
Yeah.
And it's just so much easier to do it digitally. You
Yeah.
know, I wish if they had digital back when I was studying art in college and stuff, I might have stuck with it because it's just so much easier for me to make the edits and the changes digitally as opposed to you know,
Pen
and
and
it's a lot
paper.
easier, you know, for me to use references when I can even just having them side by side on the screen is just easier than like trying to look over the thing. And I don't know, I just find the whole process digitally to be so much easier for me personally, and makes the art better the way I draw a lot better than what I used to do, you know, when I was using traditional methods.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think a lot of people, a lot of artists are just digital now. You know, there's still a lot that do traditional, but like, I think, yeah,
I think it's
it's
easier, right? Once you invest in a tablet,
yeah.
you
Once you
know,
get to
you
that
don't have to worry
point,
about buying
Yeah.
paper and
I mean,
pencils
it's
and
useful to keep in practice with the traditional because like in my last couple Kickstarters, I've had people that have ordered sketch covers, and when I've got my blanks and now it's time for me to draw old school, I have to remember how to do that because I've been drawing digitally
yeah, right.
and then all of a
There's
sudden I'm
no
like,
undo,
oh,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
good for if you guys do conventions and you can sell the originals after, you know, things
yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Like ours is an anthology, so two of the other artists they have their pencils and inks physically, like traditionally, and then those are on the stretch goal number 3. There's another tier where they're actually selling those on the Kickstarter, which is insane. Like as an artist, I could never imagine selling my original art. That's just so cool that they're doing that.
some
And I might
people
actually want to
like
buy
the
one.
yeah, right. Some people have just they don't care about it after, you know, they make it, they change it to
Takes
a
up
digital
space.
file, and that's all they need, you know. So
there's a certain look about the you know the old school style though that is clearly different, you know, and it gives a little bit more of a grittiness to it. It's almost like looking at 70s cinema to like modern cinema. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I still like seeing like artists do like a commission or something, you know, or you can buy a page of original art from somebody. Like I can't wait to get. I ordered it at Christmas time, but I had ordered some commissions from. Do you guys know David? I think how do you say it? Lafam or Lapham is an artist and writer of Stray Bullets.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I got some commissions from him. Like he's doing one for Amy for she loves the creature of the Black Lagoon, so he's doing that, and then he's doing a headshot of Boxer Bear, which I cannot wait to
oh,
see.
cool,
You know, so
nice.
that'll be awesome. Should be getting it soon, so can't wait. But yeah, I love seeing that. Like I love getting originals if I can, you know. But they're
Yep, yep.
expensive, you know, you gotta
Yeah.
pay those artists, you know.
I
So
collect a lot of books and I have no original art at
oh
all.
really? Nothing?
Yeah,
I you know, I don't
I
have a
wish.
ton, but I
Yeah.
do have a few pieces that are
Yeah.
really nice. You know, some from my books, you know, from the artist given to me as a gift, or I buy them from the artists. And then I have, you know, a couple originals from, you know, classic, you know, I guess so comic artists, you know. So but yeah, no, so one of the topics I wanted to talk about too, like I was telling you guys backstage, CL wasn't there yet, but one of the topics I wanted to talk about tonight was public domain characters, because Scott's comic Crimebusters, and I think you have another one, right, with Uncle Sam and Cthulhu and
Yeah,
stuff like
Cthulhu
that.
versus Uncle Sam is
Yep.
the
Oh,
title.
cool.
And,
Sounds awesome.
And Crimebusters is a public domain comic as well. And Johnny, you said it's not really public domain, but
It was just very
Sartana
loose,
is, right?
Sartana
Kinda?
is very loose copyright because
Okay.
there's a European character. So at the time and currently, people can kind of make it their own. and do their own thing with it. And it's it kind of falls under public domain, so to speak. Same way Quentin made Django, his version, same idea. So I just did the same thing with Sartana.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
and I've done what's that?
Oh, sorry. I was about to say, I'm glad you brought that up. I don't know if you saw it's in the Kickstarter video right at the end there, but we're planning on giving basically the Avandrus Theory characters to like the Creative Commons, essentially, just with attribution. So as long as you say, hey, created by, these 3 people, it's our gift giving back to comics. So
that's cool.
If people want to use the characters, I mean,
that's
by all
cool.
means.
So you can kind of talk about this with us, so that's great. I've used public domain characters in one of my old stories too. So what is your thoughts? What are you guys' thoughts about using public domain? Like what was the reason like you went to it?
Well, for me, my series Crimebusters, as you mentioned, it's some of the characters are public domain, and then other ones are unique characters that I've made up.
Okay.
But the origin of the series was from the public domain, so I'm a big fan of this Golden Age comic book series called Boy Comics, and it was an anthology like a lot of those Golden Age titles. But the main character was called Crimebuster, and he was like a teenage boy who solved crimes. And when I was a kid, I was really into stuff like the 3 Investigators. I don't know if you remember those, but books like Nancy Drew, the sort of teen detectives.
Yeah.
And so I just really love that series. And particularly towards the end of that run, he was sort of a costumed crime fighter for most of the series. But there was this great thing at the end of the run where they basically come to him and they're like, hey, we can't really just have some random kid on working with the police. That doesn't really work. If you're going to keep working with us, you need to actually go to the, police academy, and you need to get a degree and actually become an actual officer. You can't just run around here and solve crimes. So he goes off to college.
Okay.
And the rest of the series is at college, but he's still going on these crazy adventures like at college. And I just really loved it. And then the series ended in 1956. The company went out of business because of the comics code, and so I was like, man, I wish they had kept making that comic. And then I realized, well, it's public domain. The character's public domain. The original series is public domain. So I could just continue it. So that's how Crimebusters came about. You don't have to have read any of the originals, but I actually pick up the continuity right where issue 119 ended in 1956.
Oh, cool.
It continues in the first issue of Crimebusters.
Cool.
Like I have a variant cover for every issue that has the original logo and numbering. So like the first issue, I have a Boy Comics number 120. So I have a little bit of overlapping audiences. I have the people that are like into the Scooby-Doo stuff, which is kind of how my stories are. Yeah. But I do have public domain Golden Age fans who
you do? Okay.
Golden Age stuff. But that's basically how it came about. And since I have those fans, what I've been finding is, they want me to use more of the public domain characters. So I've sort of branched out. Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam takes place in the same universe, but it's during World War II, so it's a little bit earlier.
Gotcha.
That one actually, you might find this interesting, but it was conventions that actually drove me to make that comic. Because
really, how so?
Well, a lot of people, as you guys know, when you're tabling at these conventions, particularly for smaller, like indie people like me, it's hard to make table. Like people are just walking by. They don't know your comic. So it's hard. Yeah. So a lot of people make table with their prints. And I had decided, for me personally, I didn't want to do prints of like other people's properties. I didn't want to be the 15th person in the room with a Deadpool print. I wanted it to be like the one person in the room with my Crimebusters print. Of course,
right.
Nobody knows who they are either. So I thought, what can I do with public domain characters that people might be interested in print? And I did a Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam wrestling poster.
Okay.
And I started selling a lot of those. And like, that's how I was able to make table. A lot of my early shows was just from the prints.
Really?
And so I decided to make it into a comic, because I was like, I think there's a story here. So I basically did the first issue based on this wrestling poster that I did, which was, a vintage poster from World War II, with Cthulhu fighting Uncle Sam. And so I set it in World War II, and I included wrestling as part of the plot. So if you read that issue, there's like, it ties into the plot, the wrestling poster thing, and I based the whole thing around it. And I started bringing in other like public domain characters as part of the supporting cast, and it's kind of snowballed. So like I have a number of different public domain Golden Age characters, some of which I use just like they were originally, but other times like something about the character speaks to me, and there's like suggests different tweaks or updates. So it's sort of a mix of like, some of my characters are very different from the originals, and some are exactly the same as the original. It just sort of depends on how they speak to me.
Gotcha. How what other characters are you using that we may know, or
that you may know? I'm not sure. I'm not sure because a lot of them are pretty obscure. Like,
okay, are any of them like? Because I remember Dynamite a handful of years ago had done a thing with public domain characters called Project Superheroes or Superpowers or something, and they used a lot of those obscure characters like the Green Llama and things like, and Black Terror and things
the
like
Spider.
that. Are you using any of those guys?
Any of those, like there are in the public domain community, I've discovered that like there's certain big public domain characters. So it's Black Terror is a really big one.
Yeah, I've seen that in a number of places now.
The Golden Age Daredevil is one that's very popular. But it's hard for me in Crimebusters, even more so than Cthulhu vs. Uncle Sam, to really fit pure superheroes in the world. They don't quite work in this world because it is more of an adventure mystery. Like,
so you're looking for more like the detective kind of characters.
I mean,
and things like that.
The character that I use a lot that probably nobody's ever heard of, but just really spoke to me immediately and has become really popular with my readers, is a character named Granny Gumshoe. And she's an old woman who solves crimes. And when I read her original stories, she appeared in National Comics numbers 57 to 71. So this is like 1947. And she had a lot of stuff about the character just really spoke to me because she's got like a really messed up sense of humor. And a lot of little details in the story. Like there's a part where she makes a trick umbrella, kind of like the Penguin. And she mentions that she's done this before. And it was just sort of like, okay, so here's a lady that, it suggested like a steampunk thing to me, because it's a person who is clearly born in like the 1880s. She makes these crazy devices. She's done it before. So that suggests there's like a whole history of her going on cases that just we haven't seen. Oh. And there's other things in the stories where it's like she runs into things like friends of hers are getting murdered and she just like doesn't even bat an eye. So she's clearly like seen some stuff. And it just sort of suggested this whole character to me that was kind of like a more sinister Mary Poppins, who's sort of a character who's on the side of good, but she's not that good.
Gotcha.
Right. And so I use her a lot. That's a character that I've changed a lot, but everything that I've changed with her is inspired directly by elements in the original stories. That's kind of how I tend to do it. So I use Granny a lot, and I just did a poll of my readers. What do you want to see? Who do you want to see in these in the issues? And the number one answer I had was they wanted more Granny Gumshoe.
Oh, okay.
There were people that wanted me to use like the Black Terror and stuff, but there were more people that just wanted more of her. So there's other characters that I'm slowly bringing in, like a character named Undercover Girl, who is like a secret agent, and John Force, magic agent. Who's like a spy, but he has a magic amulet that gives him superpowers and stuff like that. So I'm working in a lot of those, but I don't really tend to use the big ones, and I don't tend to use like the pure superheroes. They're more sort of on the mystery side, like
a crime solver kind of.
Like there's a detective called Ken Shannon, who in the 50s had a lot of stories where he was like an FBI agent, but he'd be running into zombies and stuff like that. Like, and I haven't used them yet, but he's definitely going to be appearing at some point when I have a
Awesome.
chance to fit him in.
I
Yeah, I
love how
love that
pulpy
stuff.
it all sounds. It sounds very
Yeah.
pulpy, like themes and things like that.
Yeah, it's I tend to gravitate just because of, I guess because of the genre, less towards the earlier superhero stuff from the early 40s and more towards the crime stuff from the late 40s and the early 50s. That's the sort of period that I really look to when I'm trying to
Gotcha.
get inspiration for the characters and stories and stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
And
it's really cool.
CL, have you thought about doing something public domain besides like giving your characters out as a?
I mean, we were kicking ideas down for issue 2 down the road because our Kickstarter had the second issue funded. So I was the only one of the 3 who had crossed over the Avandrus characters with our own characters. I kind of felt like at the beginning we're like, oh yeah, we have this idea. The working title is like Crisis on Indie Earths. Like we'll all cross it over. We'll all cross it over with our characters, and then at the end, like they'll team up. And I was like, hey guys, are we still doing that thing, or am I the only one that's gonna do it? And they're like, no, we'll do it. We'll do it. Just issue 2, issue 3. So yeah, we had kind of like, what direction are we going? Are we doing more pulp sci-fi stuff that's kind of in the public domain, or are we just kind of giving that out? So, but yeah, I definitely was looking at it and had a couple ideas percolating that may take a couple years to see the light of day or something like that. But
The thing I find, it's weird because with the public domain stuff, it's like a double-edged sword, right? So you get the immediate, like, people recognize this, like you could, some of it, like Scott's using really obscure stuff, but like there's a lot of stuff in there that, I mean, if you could just Google it, like Zorro, I think, is a public domain character now.
I think Zorro actually, you might have to license from somebody.
Oh, you do?
Zorro's public domain. However, with some of these characters, and Zorro in particular is a great example. There are companies that have trademarked so many things with Zorro that
it's hard to find an original.
Their business is basically suing people for using Zorro.
Gotcha.
So like, there's people that do the same with Sherlock Holmes. Like there's a big thing with that movie Enola Holmes on Netflix where they sued the movie people because they were like, oh, elements of that are from stories that aren't in the public domain. So they basically just try to make money by suing people for trademark infringement. And there's certain characters that are so tied up with trademark issues that like Captain Marvel, Shazam, all of those characters are public domain. So Captain Marvel, the original, you can use, but you clearly, you can't call him Captain Marvel because Marvel has the trademark. And so it gets really dicey to use them.
At least with Marvel and DC, the rules. You cannot use them.
Yeah.
Well, next year we're going to be able to use Superman, or at least a very early iteration of Superman.
Oh, so really?
That's going to be fun in the modern era.
Oh, can you imagine DC Lord
how that's going to go?
Their knives right now.
Yeah, I mean, Mickey Mouse is coming into public domain next year, but it has to be the version from Steamboat Willie, and the trademarks are so over the top with Disney. It's be curious
to hard.
Tries it, but like for instance, the Hardy Boys are in the public domain, and so I'm definitely going to be using. They just came in last month.
It sounded like right up your alley. I was about to
say.
I'm
going to be using the Hardy Boys in the next issue. However, it's only the first 2 books in the public domain; the rest aren't. And the company still has a trademark, so I can't call them the Hardy Boys on the cover. Like I can't advertise the Hardy Boys are in this issue. They can appear inside, but I can't use the trademark. It gets really dicey.
Yeah, see, like that's a stuff I kind of have a basic understanding of, which is interesting to me, like what you can use and like something with like Project Superpowers, like we were just talking about with Dynamite, like. So they did like their version of the Black Terror and like Green Llama. So if one of us wanted to like write a Green Llama comic, we can't do their version now. Right.
Yeah. So whatever they did is copyrighted, like their story elements, but you can go back to the original. there's whole groups like online that are just dedicated to the public domain superheroes, and you learn all sorts of things. Like those two examples in particular, there's been a lot of research on them, and technically the Black Terror is actually not public domain. Someone does have the copyright, but it's been used so many times without being enforced that it's considered to be orphaned.
Gotcha.
And
So no
Green
one's
Llama,
really
someone
like,
actually has the copyright to that too, but they have actually said it's okay to use the Green Llama. So that's again is sort of like a Creative Commons sort of thing.
I was just gonna say, didn't Ben Edlund use the Terror in The Tick?
well, I don't know if he was called the Terror, but he wasn't called
Or the Black Terror? Or because I thought
don't know if
because
is it
he
supposed
was
to be
just
the
an
same
old
character?
version of the Terror. Like his costume even looked like the same. If I
Oh,
remember
could
correctly.
be. Is that what he was doing with that? Like just making
think
the Black
so, yeah.
Terror like a
Well, because he was an old like character, so they
Made
basically
him
took
like
the
a
Terror and he like
90-year-old
made him a
guy.
geriatric. You know what I mean?
That could be. That could.
I think
wonder if that's
I might be
true.
mistaken on that one, but
Like,
I
what
think
if the
there was something-
1930s canon was in the 1930s and it's today and he's
Yeah,
that
right.
old?
Like,
Right.
I remember that. Like he was forgetting stuff and he couldn't walk, or he didn't have a cane or something. I
Something
think
like
in the
that,
comic. Yeah. No, it's interesting about the. So Johnny, with your book, like Sartana, you said that's a loose copyright. So like,
Well,
how
so
does
it's kind of like the same thing that Scott was saying. It's kind of orphaned.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
really it's nobody's really got anything going with Sartana right now. So there's no ownership of it. So you could make your own version of it the same way again, like Quentin made Django and just made it his own. I did the same thing for Sartana because really I just wanted to play in the spaghetti western sandbox.
Okay.
And I really love the look of that character. He looked very much like a superhero. If you look at the old movies, he had this half cape with a red lining, and he was very James Bondy and had like all sorts of little gadgets and things. And that's kind of what
cool.
attracted me to the character. And I was like, I want to do this. So that's kind of.
There was an Italian Western, spaghetti Western I saw once. I forget the name of it, but I like that dude. He used to carry a coffin around. Do you know what
That's Django?
Is that Django? Okay.
That's Django. Yeah, he used to
carried
drag a coffin behind him. Yep.
And then throw people in there and stuff like that. So that was Django. Okay.
Sartana had a really cool bit where he came into town playing a piano, and then the piano turned into like a Gatling gun.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was real cool. So there's like a lot of things. He had a musical pocket watch that, like, if you heard the pocket watch, you knew that death was coming. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Little neat things like that.
Write stuff like write that character continuing adventures. Harry said the hard-on boys might be too risky. And the real Manos, hey, thanks for joining us tonight. I think about using public domain characters, but some are tricky.
Do it until you get the cease and desist.
Yeah, I have a Stardust story I might use. I guess, the way everyone's doing crowdfunding now, I guess unless you really get your book all over the place, you probably don't have to worry too much about people coming after you. I mean, I don't know.
I like what CL's talking about doing, crossing over indie characters and things like that. I can only imagine though, what if, thinking like what if into the future where, one person's character becomes big time and all of a sudden it gets real messy to sort out all these other characters who are indie that are tied to it, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like how Rom in the old Marvel comics.
Oh yeah.
Like there's tons of like Rom and Spider-Man, Rom and Hulk, Rom and the Avengers. Like he's just in there, and then all of a sudden he's not only not in there. Marvel can't reprint it. None of it.
Well, it's like when they get the
Bug or whatever?
Conan license. Like
Conan, you name
they're
it,
about to lose the license again. So I think
Savage Avengers, that's gone.
Yeah, I think that's all done now.
If I could circle actually back around to Ant-Man real quick, very brief.
Yeah.
If you look at in the quantum realm, the resonance there, I think they were actually a proxy for the Micronauts, which Marvel doesn't have the license for anymore.
Yeah,
and there is a character with a light beam for a head that has a staff that you're looking at it going, okay, that's wrong. You know what I mean? I think if Marvel still had the rights that now Hasbro has for those characters, those probably would have been swapped into this film.
Well, and you know what the other thing is when IDW got the rights for Rom, Well, it just wasn't as good. Like, let's
No.
face it, like because you wanted Rom to mix it up with the Hulk, and they didn't have that with the
Right.
IDW stuff, so it was just Rom.
Right.
Like, who cares?
It
like,
doesn't
you
have
wanna
the
see-
same ring when somebody over there is calling him Toaster Head. You know?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's got to be Ben Grimm. That's what it's got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I mean, go ahead,
no,
Scott. I'm sorry.
I was
Yeah,
just going to say it is important, like if you're a creator that's thinking about doing it, to consider the ramifications. So, for instance, my series, The Crimebusters, which is a passion project for me, and my stories they're copyrighted for me, so people can't use my story elements. They can't use my versions of the characters. But Crimebuster himself is my main character. Anybody can use Crimebuster. So, like, if my series gets popular, anybody could make a Crimebuster action figure or their own Crimebuster series and capitalize on it. It's like I've trademarked the name The Crimebusters, plural, but I haven't done that with Crimebuster because he is public domain. It just doesn't seem fair to other creators to do that. But like, it's something that I'm aware of, that the characters I'm using, like if you popularize a character in your work, you're going to see other people using them because they're still in the public domain. You basically, your brand is not going to be yours. It's going to only be,
that's the one thing
partially
you gotta
yours.
think about. Yeah, like that's the one thing, like I think would be tough with it, unless you go in. I think if you're gonna do a public domain story, I think you kind of go in with that knowledge a little bit, that you're kind of just adding to. I mean, how many Cthulhu things are there now?
Yeah.
It's like
endless.
And then like also like I'm starting to see a lot of Sherlock Holmes stuff too. As far as like comics and shows and
there's
movies.
whole Sherlock Holmes conventions now.
Yeah,
so,
and that one is fully in the public domain this year or something. I've read
so my good friend Jeff Ryder has a
that's
Holmes
right
book, right? And so he was mentioning that there is a portion of the Holmes catalog. There's 4 shorts, I guess, near the end of Arthur Conan Doyle's life that he wrote Holmes, and actually Holmes in those iterations of the series, as per, I'm paraphrasing now and I'm probably butchering it, and Jeff's probably yelling at the screen, but I guess Holmes was a little bit more friendlier in those iterations, so that's why I think Scott, you're mentioning earlier, you couldn't use Holmes depicted as a more friendlier character, because part is still under public. That's
what they tried to sue them for, to say that the version of Holmes that appears in the Enola Holmes movie was too friendly.
Yeah,
and
too
friendly.
friendly.
And they sued
right.
them. They went to court over how friendly the character was. They lost that lawsuit. The people that made the movie did win that, but
good. Interesting, because like I thought like Sherlock Holmes is pretty safe, but I used him in the one I did was I took the H.G. Wells time traveler character, and
nice.
My story was like, what if he had a son, and this, the time traveler just never returned after going into the future with the Morlocks and everything, but he gets a letter one day from his father saying, hey, I'm lost in the time stream, and him trying to figure out how to get there. But the whole thing was him teaming up with other historical characters. Like he teams up with Sherlock Holmes in one of the stories, and then I was going to have him, run into Miskatonic University and run into the Reanimator and things like that. So I was doing it was like a who's who of like public domain, every week, so that's
you have to look at like how many iterations of Tarzan have there been, you know what I mean? Like, if you were to say, oh, okay, I'm going to do a Tarzan story, yours would just be one of many, And
so let me see, Dr. Moriarty is returning to Picard season 3. I didn't know that.
Nice.
You can't own friendly. Yeah. It's weird. Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. Right. So I always found the whole public domain thing kind of fascinating, on where the lines were, and what you can use and what you can't, and things like that. So, but I also wanted to highlight both of you guys as Kickstarters too.
Yeah, let's go into some of the campaign pages.
Yeah, we're going into an hour already, and I want to get into this.
We could sit here probably talk comics all
night.
night.
My god,
we go all night.
I
guess we gotta
get diarrhea in the mouth, So like, but So I figured, since we're already on talking about public domain, let's take a look at Scott's first.
Awesome.
Which is Crimebusters 1 through 5. So that's
Oh,
awesome.
look at
that you
that.
have
There's a little
5
bit of a
issues.
jump.
What's up?
There was a little bit of a jump at his goal just now, it looks like.
There was, yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, awesome.
Hopefully that was us. I don't know, but that's great. So yeah, you've already made your goal, which is
Congratulations.
awesome. Scott.
Yeah, congrats, Scott.
And
That's
I've
awesome.
read the first 2 issues of Crimebuster, and I really like what you're doing with it.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah, we're I drew the first 4 issues myself, but I've been trying to sort of level up the comic. So the first 3 issues are in black and white. Issue 4 is in color. Issue 5, with this new issue, I'm working with an artist by the name of Mac Radwanski.
Is this Mac's artwork right here?
This is Mac's artwork here. And it still has that sort of Archie style from my book, but he does a little bit more with like shadows and light to give it a little bit more of this like noir feel that I think really works with the sort of Scooby-Doo sort of style thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wanted to have an artist who wasn't a big departure from my work. These like that there is something that I drew back in issue 1. That's
I love that right there. It's Archie adjacent.
Yeah.
It's not like
definitely.
absolutely aping Archie. It's like just to the left of it. And I love it.
Yeah. And so basically, it's been taking me 10, 11 months to do a single issue when I'm trying to draw it, and it's just not coming out fast enough. So now I've got Mac on board. He's already started working on issue 6. Like the day after we hit the goal, he started drawing issue 6.
That's awesome.
And so we're trying to get it out a lot faster. And then these variant covers you're showing here, like I have 2 variant covers I do every issue. This is the one where my character Trixie, where I make it look like a Nancy Drew book cover.
Yeah, I like that.
I do have like readers that just buy this, so they have like a set. All the covers look like it's the Nancy Drew book covers. They all feature Trixie, who's a character that I created to be a partner to Crimebuster, because in the original series. The original series is called Boy Comics. There were no recurring female characters in the whole 14-year series. So I was like, let's
2023.
Yeah, let's bring someone else. So I wanted her to have her own variant covers, but then if you scroll down a little, you'll see this is a Boy Comics.
Oh, okay. This is the Boy Comics logo and everything.
And I draw these like this is an homage to a cover by Gil Kane from the 50s. Rex,
you did this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. Very cool.
Well, I credit Gil Kane for most of it because it's an homage to his cover for Rex the Wonder Dog number 11.
Okay, I'll have to look that up and see what that.
It's got everything you want on it. It's got the original instead of the monkey, which is one of the characters from.
Let me see if I can find it while we're talking. You said number 11.
Number 11. It looks exactly like
Love the monkey,
except for I replaced the dog with a monkey, and I made the. There were just some random people in the foreground in the original, and I turned them into my characters, so I made it into Trixie and Chuck.
Cool.
But yeah, it's got the original. It's a dog fighting a T-Rex in front of a nuclear explosion. So that's the original.
That's great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
That's so awesome. I love a good spoof cover.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan. I love the homage covers. So yeah, I do a lot of them.
That's great, man.
Yeah, we're thinking about doing an homage cover for issue 2. Like we're really wanting to do something like that. That's a really well done cover. I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
Thanks. And then every issue I also do a Kickstarter exclusive. So like not something I sell, and that's this one here, which
wow, that came out really nice.
The tarot.
You did this one too, card. Scott?
I had a little bit of help. There's a whole story behind this, but when I had an idea in my head, I couldn't get it right. And then like last summer, I was like, I'm hearing a lot about this AI stuff. How does that work? And I ended up doing some things. I was like, oh, this looks like what I had in my head. I'll do this. And then I discovered like, the big controversy over the AI.
Oh yeah. We did a whole discussion about that.
And so I was like, I'm not really comfortable using the AI art because of the issues around how they're scraping the artwork. But I had already, what's the word I'm looking for?
You'd already said you were going to do an AI.
Yeah, I had already showed this cover, a version of this cover that I had already solicited this.
Okay.
And like this version of the character had already been drawn through the entire comic. So what I did is, this is not the one you're seeing here. I redrew the whole thing by hand. So
Okay.
this is
This came out great.
me drawing by hand a reinterpretation of what the AI had come up with based on what I was trying to get it to do. So it's
Gotcha.
I kind of like that though. You extrapolated something. The internet extrapolated from all of its images your input, only for you to extrapolate
And then I
that into
redrew
your
it, right.
artwork. That's beautiful. That's
How does it
So-
feel, AI? How does it
Yeah.
feel?
Well, that's what
you
we
took one
that's
back.
the
I feel like we just fought Skynet.
Yeah. Well, that's the conclusion we kind of came to with the AI discussion, was that it was most of the people using it, which Johnny tried, and one of the guests, or the two guests we had worked with it before, but the conclusion was that it's more like a tool, like, you know, like the way an artist uses a mannequin to like form a figure, you know.
I do think that in the future, not to get into it too much, but I think it's eventually going to be a tool. I just think they need to sort of figure out the copyright and the moral stuff and all that before I'm comfortable using it. But the other thing is, right now you can't copyright. You can't copyright your AI art. So like if you have the AI art, it's automatically public domain. And that's not necessarily something I want to do with my comic, is to have it enter the public domain as soon as I publish it, because because of that. So for the time being, I'm not going to use any pure AI art. But anyway, so yeah, here's the sample pages from Mac.
Harryhausen, very nice.
Yeah, so like the comic set in
class.
1957, so I try and work in. I fudged the timeline a little bit to get the Harryhausen thing in here.
I see.
And this is your new artist right here.
Yeah, the artist looks very close to you. You know, yeah, I definitely see what you were saying. You know, you tried to find someone close.
Yeah, so this is him here. But I think he works faster than I do. I think his art's better than mine.
I'm actually the opposite. No offense to your artist. I actually like your art, Scott, more than his.
Well, I appreciate it. Like, maybe I'm just being too hard on myself, but also, like, I really want it to come out a lot faster. Once a year is just not fast enough. So
yeah, what's your goal,
I
to do
feel
like 2 or 3
so
books
hard.
a
I'm
year?
looking to do 3 a year.
Okay.
You know, we're gonna have this is issue 5. We'll finish this week. I'm gonna have the trade out sometime this summer, collecting the first 5 issues, and then hopefully we'll have issue 6 in the fall. And then next year, I'm hoping to have 7, 8, and 9. The individual stories, each issue is like a self-contained thing, but they do also sort of tie together with a broader like subplot that goes through them. And it's this issue 5 is, since it's the cap to what's going to be the trade, it's kind of the cap for the first 5 issues. A lot of the subplots, but also the character arcs in the first 4 issues all sort of come together in this one.
Yeah.
And then with next issue, we're kind of going to start, building it up again.
Yeah. The real Manos says he's loving the art here. Yeah, you could agree. I've like I said, I've read the 1 and 2 from you. I bought them from you at different conventions. I'll get 3 next time I see you. But yeah, I like it. It's very fun and like that golden age kind of style. And if you like stuff like like Scooby-Doo, if you grew up with Hanna-Barbera or
I mean, Scooby-Doo is definitely one of the big influences. The difference is that, like, when I was a kid watching Scooby-Doo, it always would drive me crazy that, like, every time it was a guy in a mask or whatever, it was never actually a ghost. So this has some elements from like the Lovecraft mythos, and sometimes it is a guy in a mask, but sometimes it's actually some kind of weird monster. I want both of those things to be possible. So when you're reading the story, you don't know whether it's going to turn out to be supernatural or actually like some sort of technological gadget trickery or something.
Yeah, I like that though. I like
toes.
that you're creating the stuff you want to see, using these characters. What were you gonna say, CL?
I was just saying, it keeps you on your toes,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like, I think that's the one thing the cartoon could have used,
Yeah, every time I watch the cartoon, I'd be like, yeah, this is cool. They're in a haunted mine. There's a ghost. There's a Yeti, whatever. but I know that at the end of this, it's just going to be, old man Jenkins is in that Yeti costume.
Yeah,
so,
right. Yeah.
There's no real tension there. I always knew that what was coming.
Right.
That old man Jenkins.
Did they made a Scooby-Doo movie though, where the monsters were real or something, didn't they? It was like one of the later ones.
That
I never
James
saw
Gunn.
it, but-
James Gunn wrote those two
Yep.
Scooby-Doo movies, those first
Spooky
ones.
Island.
Yeah.
Spooky Island. Oh, the cartoon ones he wrote?
No. I'm sorry.
He
Not the
wrote the
cartoon ones,
live
the
action
live
ones
action
with
ones.
Freddie
that they
Yeah, I
Prinze
knew he
did.
did the live action movies,
Yeah.
but no, there was a cartoon movie where.
Oh, are you talking about the one with like the zombies, where it's actually
Yes,
zombies?
that's the one.
Yes,
Yeah.
I vividly remember that because I was like, "Yay, Scooby Doo!" I was like maybe 8, 7, and
And
I was
you-
like, "Oh no, this is not fun. This is scary." Like I was terrified.
That's awesome.
So with this campaign, just you can get the first 5 issues. If you missed the previous 4, you have all 5. I only actually have a few copies left because I knew the trade was coming out, so I've been printing fewer and fewer. So I didn't print very many of issue 4, so I don't have many sets left, but I do have a few. I've also got both Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam 1 and 2.
Oh wow, you're already on 2 issues of that too.
Yeah, and the other thing I came out with, I don't think you've seen because I haven't been to a show since I printed it, but you might find this cool. I did a 100-page giant, like the old DC 100-page giants.
Oh, okay.
And it's just like those, because my character's in the public domain. One cool thing is I can reprint all 117 of his original issues for free. Like I can just use them for whatever I want. I have a complete run. I put together the whole run of all 717 Golden Age issues. So what I did was
Would you scan them like at a higher?
I scanned them myself on my own scanner. Issues that I had referenced in my news stories, like I'll have saying that happened in issue 7. I basically scanned them myself and I digitally remastered them, and then I put them in this 100-page giant with a reprint of my first issue that I colorized.
Oh wow!
And so you can read the first issue, and then all the issues, the back issues that I reference in the story are all. If you flip the book over,
Are the real stories
there?
Oh wow!
So I wanted to feel like those DC 100-page giants. And the coolest part there's a guy that I had met who is a huge fan of the Golden Age stuff. He had commissioned some original artwork featuring Crimebuster that had never been published before, and I got permission from him and from the artist's family to use it. So the cover of the 100-page giant is actually by George Tuska. It's a never before published George Tuska, who you may know because he was the regular artist on Iron Man back in the 60s and 70s. But before that, in the 40s and 50s, he actually drew some Crimebuster stories in Boy Comics.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so the cover of that is a never before published Crimebuster George Tuska cover. So that was super awesome to have his art on my comic.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah,
that is cool.
So is that 100-page giant on somewhere here on the?
You can get it as an add-on. Yeah, so you can add it on.
Is there a picture of it down below?
A little tiny one. If you keep going down in the rewards a little ways, a little further, one right there. See, right in the middle.
Oh, the 80th. This one right here.
Yeah, the 80th anniversary special.
Oh, I like that.
It's a flip book. So if you flip it over, the other side has the 100-page giant logo, like the old DC ones.
Cool.
Oh, awesome. And this is all the covers, all the books.
That's all the regular editions.
And then here's the Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam. That's very fun.
Nice.
So you're becoming more of a. You're becoming more like in the writer role, and then kind of
exactly
just a cover here and there.
Yeah, and I've got a new series that's unrelated to this. That's like an epic fantasy. It's like I'm a huge fan of Warlord and Conan and all those 70s history. So it's one of those. It's like a D&D inspired epic fantasy, and I'm going to be doing that later this year. But that's something where again I'm writing it. Since I'm not spending an entire year drawing a one issue of Crimebusters, it frees me up to basically write a lot of different comics and hire different artists to work on them for me. So I'm trying to really branch out. I did 3 Kickstarters last year, but I think I might actually have 6 this year. So
oh wow,
dude,
that's a big increase.
God, I can't even handle more than one.
Yeah,
I can't even imagine doing 2.
Like I'm basically just working half time now. Like I've scaled back to part, and I'm doing this like.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, you get that more time to work.
Yeah, I'm not making any money. I'm still losing money, but like,
well, it takes a. You've been at this what through. Hello. Oh,
there we are. Yeah, we blipped out for a second.
Scott, you still there? We lost him. I don't know.
He's frozen.
Well, if he can hear me, go ahead and refresh it because I just backed him. So.
Oh, nice! Right on, man.
He sold me on those retro covers, man. Those homage covers.
Yeah, dude. I think this book looks fun. Well,
yeah, it looks like a fun book for sure.
I've read 1 and 2, so I can attest. If you like that stuff, if you like Scooby Doo, if you like Hardy Boys, you like old school retro stuff, you'll like the book. Hang on, let me see. Let me remove him there. And I think he's back. There he is.
Oh, there he is.
Hey, Scott. Don't know what happened. Oh, wait. Is he back?
The AI Scott. Oh, no.
Yes, the AI Scott.
He's coming back for revenge. Scott, can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
The AI came after you, man.
It did. It did.
Oh, Skynet's trying to shut us down.
Yeah, it's wild.
Give me 1 second. I will be right back.
Yeah, you got it, man.
So we got so CL backed you. Why
well, thanks. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, so you got another backer, which is awesome. So before we start talking about to CL about his campaign, what is there a specific tier that you recommend for people?
I guess I would say the catch-up tier is all 5 issues. I also have what's called the Big Deal. And that's all 5 issues of Crimebusters plus both issues of Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam and the Crimebuster 80th anniversary special. That's basically all the comics that I've done, all 8 of them.
Nice.
Now that, I mean, it's $75 plus shipping, so it's it's not nothing.
Big deal.
Yeah, it looks like your PDF catch-up pack is a cool $20.
Yeah, you can if you want to do the digital, it's 20, or you can do for 30. You can also get the Cthulhu vs. Uncle Sam 1 and 2 as well if you want to see all of it. So that's a cheaper option. That's digital, and the digital ones, because again I have all these public domain characters. The PDF editions, some of those they're like 80, 90, 100 pages because I can put in all of these bonus Golden Age stories. So whenever I have like an issue where it has, say, these 3 characters are guest stars, I'll have Golden Age stories in the PDF of those characters from the Golden Age, so you can read the original stories.
So you actually get a bonus if you go digital rather than
if you buy the physical, you get the PDF as well. So everybody will get that.
Oh wow, okay, that's a great deal.
Yeah.
So it makes it that's actually very interesting because now the PDF becomes its own thing on top of, that's really cool.
Yeah. So like for the stretch goals, I try and have like stretch goals that give everybody things. So there are physical, like every stretch goal, there's new trading cards and stuff that I'm doing, but it's also adding more pages to the PDF. So at this point, there's like 45 extra pages of Golden Age bonus stories at the end. That everybody will get, whether you're digital or physical.
Wow, yeah, I like that. That's really cool.
Is the video on your page long?
No, it's only a minute. I just recorded it this afternoon because I forgot to do a video earlier.
Oh, okay. We'll play it.
It's just a minute long.
Sure, we'll play
let's
it.
Fire it up.
Let me back out.
I haven't actually watched it, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, so I think I gotta stop.
What you're saying is a world debut right now.
Yes,
exactly.
Well,
let me just redo it because I don't think I checked the audio on this.
Yeah, we still have Ghost Scott looming.
Yeah. I don't know why it's like that. I feel it's like that. What is that horror movie, Unfriended, where there was like that extra person in the chat that they couldn't get rid of.
Yeah. I was thinking about that same thing.
Yeah. All right, let me bring it in here. Okay, so we should get the audio now. So let's play it. Fire it up.
Hi, I'm Scott Harris King, creator of the Crimebusters, which is now fully funded. We've also unlocked some stretch goals, so this is the perfect time to jump aboard, as you're guaranteed to get not just your comic, but a bunch of sweet bonus rewards as well. The Crimebusters is a supernatural mystery adventure comic in the tradition of Scooby-Doo, and this issue we've got new artist Mac Radwanski in a story called Mayhem at the Museum. And in this story, our group of intrepid teen sleuths end up going to a museum to investigate a supernatural mystery, and there's an evil cult that summons the Queen in Yellow, causes a bunch of the displays to spring to life, and they have to sort of battle their way out and solve the mystery. I loved making this comic. It's a real passion project for me, and I really appreciate all your support. If you're a fan of things like Scooby-Doo or The Three Investigators or Nancy Drew, this might be something for you. So please check it out, the Crimebusters, and thanks so much for your support.
Awesome, man. Yeah, so check that out. I'm gonna put the link for Crimebusters in the chat right now. So if you guys are feeling that, check that one out. Back it, and as you can see, you get a ton of stuff for your money, which is awesome. All right, and then I want to take a look at Manuel and CL's Kickstarter here as well. So, one sec. Everyone's still with me?
We're still here.
Yep.
We're live,
perfect.
Not AI.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
my video is super short. It's like 45 seconds. I wanted to keep it short and sweet.
Nice.
That's the way to do it, though. If you're gonna do a Kickstarter video, I think anything over a minute is kind of pushing it, So
yeah, it's like I know when I'm checking out like a video, like I'm
Yeah,
just sitting
right.
around, but I'm like, oh, this is when normal people might check out.
Yeah,
I'm not
it
normal.
happens. Yeah. Well, before we watch the video, though, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, let's get it.
How do you
Sure,
say
yeah,
it?
yeah. The Avandrus
Avandrus?
Theory.
What
So
is it?
Avandrus Theory.
Okay.
It's weird because people have been asking me because they watched the there's like a Meet the Creators video down below as well. It's like 2 minutes long, and they're like, "Why are you saying it different than everybody else?" And I was like, "Well, I came up with it. I think I know how I intended it to be said." No, it's based on the word itself is based on the D&D god Avandra. So I just kind of made it adjacent to that, but yeah, that's the main character.
Very
Nico
sci-fi
Avandrus.
looking, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so like during the pandemic, like we were all working on our indie projects, and like we all went through it. It was not a ideal working environment at home to just sit and work on your comic the whole time. We were struggling, so we had our meetings, like our comic creators meetings, for like the Hampton Roads, Virginia area, that we couldn't go to anymore because of COVID and everything. So we kind of were just trying to collaborate virtually and distance and everything. So that's kind of what created this comic, was the idea of having different universes be different art styles, and that be okay. And like the portals at the end of each story are just these kind of parentheses that kind of just encapsulate that whole universe. And so when they're done in an adventure in Manuel's universe, go through a portal, now they're in Brad Lacey's universe. And that explains the difference in art style.
I got you. So there's a bunch of artists on this then.
There's 3 artists. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Myself, Brian, Lacey, and Manuel Carmona.
Gotcha.
And Micah does the letters on 2 out of 3 of those.
2 out of 3. Okay. What was I going to say? So yeah, let me just take a look at some of the pages. So it's a property, but each story is its own thing. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's an anthology. So each universe is its own continuity. So like, sure, Nico's parents die, off screen before the first story in the main universe, but you can have a universe if you're making your own Avandrus story, where his parents are still alive. Like there's not really any rules at that point. So if you're in your own sandbox, you can kind of do whatever. That's what we wanted it to be.
I like how open source you're kind of with it. It's like plug. Any creator can kind of plug into your universe, and you guys are willing to kind of open your sandbox. I think that's really cool.
Right, and each person can put their own love letter to the sci-fi in there, like whether that's like Rob Liefeld, Cable, time travel stuff with pouches and chrome and everything, or it's pulp stuff from before the Silver Age. I mean, it's really whatever you want it to be. And like, there's 3 different art styles. Like, as you can see right there, Manuel does a very awesome, like I'd say like 50s sci-fi is kind of
Yeah.
like
it looks
maybe
really
early
cool.
60s, like Jack Kirby stuff. It's
Cool.
very cool. And I've seen like the parts that he has colored already. And oh my gosh, even the coloring is like the dot matrix stuff.
Oh,
And
cool.
I
I
am
like
going
that.
bananas for this art to be done because I want to see it and read it.
Love
but yeah,
that character right there with the helmet. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
that's Emperor Mata. He's not only our main bad guy. Brian Lacey has been designing him and everything, and that's his print of Emperor
cool.
Mata. So you're not gonna get a cooler Emperor Mata than he does right there.
I was gonna say it looks like a character that would be like the bad guy for like an 80s cartoon, like
Yeah,
Cobra
yeah,
Commander or
Definitely
like
has that
the
feel to
villain,
it.
you know, the villain Mayhem from Mask. Like he kind of has that like 80s villain, you know, cartoon look. Love it.
So we wanted it to be like, okay, let's say they beat Emperor Mata, right? Like in the main universe,
Micah.
they solve the main guy's universe's problems. Well, there's still an infinite number of universes, sure, with other Nikos to help him, but there's also an infinite number of Emperor Matas. So it's this ongoing, Skeletor versus He-Man, 80s cartoon, ongoing narrative. Exactly. So the fight will never end. However, you still have to fight for good, and it's this big good versus evil.
The main characters can go into these alternate universes, and that's where you get the different art style, and that's how you do. Yep. That's a cool idea. Different, Yeah. Oh, and what Manuel says, that's the idea. Retro sci-fi. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah. I like that a lot. So let's take a look at the video here real quick while we're talking about it. Let me scroll up. Actually, let me share the link in the chat. So if you guys like what you're seeing
check
here,
it out in the chat.
Back it up. I'm glad both of you guys have hit your goals, which is nice. And you're
congrats on that, by the way.
It's
stretch
awesome.
goal territory, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And both of you guys are over, which is nice, like over like at least $1,000 or $2,000, which is really cool.
We hit our second stretch goal, so the second issue is funded.
Oh, that's awesome. Which is good for you.
The first issue was a pipe dream until it wasn't. So we're so happy about it.
Yeah, no, that's great. Cool. Congrats. Yeah, let's take a look at the video now here. Let's see. I love it.
That's really cool.
That music gave it like an anime kind of feel,
or video game feel.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's the unofficial Avandrus Theory theme song now.
That's awesome. Yeah, like almost like an 80s like sci-fi or something,
Yeah, like they're one of my favorite bands. And like I just messaged them on Instagram. I was like, hey, like just total Hail Mary. I was like, hey, I'm making a comic book. Can I use your song? And they're like, yeah, man, just talk to my legal guy. Here you go. Here's his email. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Nice.
So
that's awesome. Yeah, no, it's cool, man. It looks cool. I like the idea behind it, a lot. I like that you guys are sharing it with other people, which is interesting. I have not seen people do that before, which is really cool, And what is the hope behind that? Is like that you guys could collect other people's stories too?
Yeah,
down the road?
It's kind of like if we make the story and we hold on to it and like we're the arbiters of the lore and that's satisfying in its own way. And like we already have that kind of with our own comics. But if we stop making comics, we retire, whatever, and people still are making stories, it would be cool to see where they take the characters, like what their ideas are about the multiverse and time travel and the good versus evil like themes that are just not going away. They're just so fun, and people have been talking about them for since what was it, Michael Moorcock in
Oh yeah,
Sundered Worlds coined the term multiverse or whatever. Like people have been talking about that since then, and they will continue to.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of fun.
That's a very TMNT Eastman layered approach to it, right? Like, once they were kind of done with the comics, it's like they let other people take their creation and go wild with it,
Yeah.
Well, that, and they consider every iteration of it on television like its own multiverse version,
Right.
Like, and then you often see like sometimes they combine them all into an episode or something,
Right.
It's
Yeah,
very
there was
fun,
actually a movie that did that, which was pretty
there was
cool.
a movie, and then I think the Nickelodeon one in the 2012 series did that too.
Oh, did the same thing?
Brought back like the 80s versions and things like that.
Cool.
So yeah, a lot of fun.
Thank you,
is there
Scott.
specific tier? What's that? What'd you say?
Scott backed it. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Sure.
And I was going to say, what is there any tiers that CL that you recommend?
I think the titles I'm more excited about. So the guy in the center there, Nico, right? His dad was in the Allied Legion that fights against Emperor Mata, and so in his universe, the war is still ongoing. Whereas on the left-hand side, Captain Avandrus, he's an Allied Legion Ranger, and they're basically like snuffing out Mata's resistance. Whereas on the right-hand side, Nicodemo, he lives in a world where the Allied Legion's been destroyed by Emperor Mata, and he's in like a dystopian wasteland of it. His arm's been cut off. He's got no clothes. You can tell he's had a rough time. That whole like joining the movement, becoming part of the Allied Legion, becoming a part of the fight against Emperor Mata is kind of the theme of what the tiers are. So like, yes, there's cool, like even the one that's not unlocked yet, which is like the Nico variant, where you get to buy some of the like the original art and everything. Like they're all awesome, and they have tons of rewards, and you should definitely dig into them if you want to scroll through them and everything. But the names are also. I try to put a little bit of flavor text in every one of them. Like join the fight against Mata's hive mind a bug army. So
that's awesome. Recruit Alien Legion Cadet. Yeah, I like that. Very fun, man. Yeah, this looks fun.
Yeah.
I
do like the sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there. So I do love the 80s sci-fi vibe that it gives off, and it seems like there's like a lot of that spirit of action, adventure, and fun that kind of was synonymous with that generation of sci-fi movies that you guys were able to encapsulate here.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned like TMNT and like 80s cartoons and everything, because right when we had these characters and I knew I was crossing over with mine, and my universe has its own superhero stuff going on, I was like, oh, I know exactly what I want to do. I want them to fight ninjas, so that I can do all the 80s cartoons dreams that I've always wanted to put in.
Comics.
I was gonna say that's very easy of you.
You're gonna be robots too, so you can just smash them apart like they did in those cartoons.
All the bolts fly everywhere and stuff. I love that.
Yeah,
that was great. Well, they substituted that for like blood and guts, but you always get to see all the parts go everywhere.
Right, exactly.
If you scroll down, the prints are on there. I think the other coolest section is actually just a wall of text that people might, if they're only looking for pictures, they might miss it. It's right.
Is this at the bottom?
No, near the top.
Okay.
It's like, who would like this? Just because I think that's just such a fundamental question that it's just like, okay, why should I care about your thing? And it's like, well, if you like the multiverse, if you like sci-fis, or if you like sci-fi comics, then that would be kind of what we're going for, is right here. So Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which everyone loved, Spider-Verse, Star Wars, Matrix, Aliens, The Atom Project on Netflix, Flash Gordon and Adam Strange were a huge inspiration for like just like the base core character, and then Guardians of the Galaxy. So those are kind of like our influences. We're trying to put those kind of on our sleeve and say, hey, this is the cool weirdness that you're getting into. So
nice.
Yeah,
I like all those flavors.
Yeah, definitely. I think the music matches that whole aesthetic too, which is nice. It looks good, man. Always got some good projects going here. So, and I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad you're both funded already, which is great.
Yeah.
Did you guys have, like, I know, is this your first Kickstarter, CL?
Yeah, this is my first Kickstarter. It's been a huge learning curve. It's also my first comic, so it's kind of
You did really well
right
though
on,
for a
man.
first time.
Yeah.
Congrats.
It's I've really been like coming into my like loving my own art and getting over that imposter syndrome, but then also like creating a workflow that I can really like make it meticulous, but also like I have like a methodology that I use that like, all right, I know I'm going into the shadows and the highlighting and just and I just kind of get in the zone. And that's I think where I've been struggling with my art the whole time, whereas I kind of like instantly was like, I know how I want to write, kind of got in the groove of that. I never really figured out the art thing until the Avandrus Theory, honestly. So
I just got to do it. Like, I think like, you know, in a year, 2 from now, when you do the next issue, you're going to look back at number 1 and going,
what was that?
I don't like that one as much now.
It's always our own worst.
It's always
critics,
like
though.
that's
It's always the way, you know.
But I know what I was going to ask though. It's like, did you guys feel like, because it seems like you know, like because of the economy and everything, like people are like, you know, holding those wallets closed a little longer than usual. But did you guys see any of that with it didn't look like it with your campaigns? It looks like people were spending and backing.
I had lots of good family and friends that just have been so supportive. I'm hoping eventually, you know, we go into cons and everything, and we end up finding like the Avandrus Theory's audience. But the support's been there, and we're
It'll
super
take
humble.
you a while. Like cons is its own thing. Like, you know, you know.
Do you guys have appearances booked coming up that you want to promote?
You can start, Scott. I'm not really thinking of anything on top of my head.
I've got a couple. I'm actually going to be, I think, all the shows I'm going to be at are ones that Keith is going to be at, I think. Partially because, you know, I don't like doing the bigger shows. It's actually a little hard for me for health reasons. Like physically, it's difficult. And because a lot of the bigger shows are now doing 2 days. And I can't do 2 days.
Yeah,
so,
I pulled way back myself. I don't like the 2-day shows anymore.
But I did see in Keith's last mailing list some smaller shows that I didn't know were happening. So I went and signed up for a bunch of those. So
cool, nice.
I'm gonna be at Haverhill Library Show.
Cool.
We'll see you there.
Johnny, you gonna do that one?
Yeah, I think I got looped in on that.
Oh, good. And you'll be at Plastic City, of course.
Yeah, and in between those, I'm also doing.
You doing Retro Expo?
No, it's what's it called? The Spring Fling comic thing in Dartmouth.
Yeah, that one's put on by Ryan Santos's friend. I'm hoping that one is good. I'm not seeing a lot of advertising on it, so I'm a little worried about it. But it isn't a 1-day show, so I'm gonna take the chance.
Yeah,
and I think Johnny, you said it was in a city that was kind of like you don't see a lot of stuff there, right? So might do well because of that.
I think so. Yeah.
Are you doing that one, Johnny?
No, I don't think I jumped on board on that one.
Okay.
What was the date on it again?
It's the 20th, May 20th.
May 20th. Oh, that's Memorial Day weekend, isn't it? Or maybe the weekend before?
It's the weekend before, I think.
Weekend before.
Yeah, and the only other show I currently have is Athol, the one that.
We'll all be at that.
Oh yeah, we'll be at that one as well.
That one was
cool.
Good. I had a fun time at that show.
That was a good show.
Yeah.
A little fun. I like those library shows for some reason. I think
they're just smaller and more intimate, I think.
Oh yeah, and you can connect with an audience better at smaller shows, definitely, than these bigger ones. You know.
I've still got a couple I'm going to apply to my annual applications for Small Press Expo and Mice, but I never get into either of those. So,
well, Johnny did SPX, and you said if you did a few things different, that show would have been worth it for you.
Yeah.
I've never done it. I've tried to get in there. That's a tough one. I got into Mice once. I think that's where I met you first, Scott.
That's right. Yeah.
And was going to say, like, what I did to get into that show is that application, it was just perfect timing because I had done the first 3 issues of the Mighty Mascots, and number 3 had come out right before that show. And they always put in their application, like, give us a reason why, tell us why, you should be an exhibitor. And that's what I did. You might be able to do that with your 5th issue of Crimebusters.
I don't know. I've tried everything, and they don't seem to.
Oh, really?
be that excited.
I was gonna
for
say,
it.
like, what I did was I just said, hey, this is the perfect time for me to vend because I have this mini series, number 3 just came out. This would be the perfect time. I could offer all 3 issues to the vendors or to the customers there. I just pleaded it like that, and then I was able to get in. Every other year, nothing. Crickets. But you could probably do that. Say, hey, I have 5 issues. This is the end of a huge arc. This would be a perfect time for me to vend.
Well,
Do
I'm
something
definitely
like
gonna
that,
apply,
please.
but
Yeah, please
so far nothing.
put something like that in your when on that question, say it's a perfect time because of this, and give them that reason, and you may get a shot.
Just
That
say
show is
just say that you identify as a vendor at that show. They should let you in.
yeah. I was gonna say that, but Mice is great. Like, I did awesome at that show, and it was free admission, and I felt so creative after it too. Like, it was just a lot of that was a cool feel, man. I would say definitely try, keep trying till you get in.
Yeah, we have a similar show. It's like the Norfolk Indie Comic Expo. Like,
is it like a little like festival kind of thing?
It's bigger than a library, that's for sure. It's definitely not like a convention center, but it's like this brewery, and there's like upstairs, downstairs seating and everything.
Oh, I like that.
We were talking, myself, Brian, and Manuel all haven't gotten in every year. We've been trying to get in. We're like, what the heck? Like, we're all 3 Norfolk artists. It doesn't make any sense. But
you gotta start early sometime with those.
Yeah.
Is it more like they filled up right away, or?
I guess so. I mean,
Yeah.
They do say like they want to get different people in there every year and everything. So I do understand. Like, I wouldn't want to be on the other side of like the planning of a convention or anything. But
Well,
I
now
can't
you got the
believe,
issue. You can just be like, "Hey, this is our big debut." We're trying to do something like that. Harry said to try saying that the fate of the human race depends.
Yeah, the fate of the
on
multiverse, dude. Like,
getting
Emperor
into the
Mata,
show.
ever heard of him?
That's awesome.
I can't believe I didn't think of this. The Buy Indie Comics Day, which is an event that Manuel is running. It's
I see that
Silver
around.
Library on let's see, May 27th. So all 4 of us are going to be there, so it's a perfect time not only to come out and support indie creators, but to be a fan of the Avandrus Theory and have all 4 of us sign it for you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Where is that happen?
That's in Norfolk, downtown Norfolk, Virginia.
Virginia, is that? And that's where you guys do it. That's cool. Yeah. Free event. I would take it. Yeah. So if we have any Virginia people that watch the show, check that out on May 27th.
Check it out.
Buy Indie Comics Day. I've seen that around. I think it's because me and Manuel, I've known him for a long time. We follow each other, and
that's right. Yeah. Justin will be there as well from in the comments. Yeah.
I'll be at this. What is that?
Slover Library
show too. Yeah, Real Menace. Oh, cool, awesome. Yeah, the library shows are the best. I love them a lot. I think they have a low vendor fee usually, or normally free. And everybody, and it's smaller. You can talk to people easier. I love them.
It's usually a huge facility. It's amazing. I've had one show there.
Cool. You guys doing panels and all that stuff too?
We are doing panels, and we're doing an Avandrus panel. So yeah, if you're even remotely interested, please try to find a way to make it to that show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And and since you're starting out, CL, I did a whole on my channel here. If you look in the playlist, I did a whole series on just setting up at conventions that you may find useful.
Yeah.
So some tips and tricks.
Tips and tricks. I've been doing this for like almost 20 years. So, learn from me, like, with selling and things like that. So check that out if you get a chance. But yeah, we've been going an hour and 45. So I'm going to start wrapping this up because, everyone's got to work in the morning, I think. So,
yeah, that's for sure.
Let's go around the room real quick. Scott, anything else you want to promote while you're here? Besides the Kickstarter, or?
I have a YouTube channel. My channel's called The Classic Comic Collector.
Okay.
And most of what I talk about is back issues, actually. But showing off my collection, stuff that I've been buying, back issues. But I do talk some about making stuff as well. So you're all welcome to check that out. And I'm gonna have a lot more Kickstarters coming later this year. That new series Quest is gonna be the sort of D&D inspired sword and sorcery. Not sure when it's gonna be out. The art for the first issue is done. I'm just working on getting it colored, but so that'll probably be maybe in May. Let's keep an eye out for that. The first issue of that.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, let me. I'll share the link to your YouTube channel here.
Yeah, I'm subscribing right now.
Oh, thanks.
Nice.
And it looks like I'm already subscribed, so that's good. So there's the link for that. And then you anywhere on social media where people can chat with you or at all, or no?
I'm on Instagram if I can remember
Okay.
what my handle is. I think it's
sure you just look you up, right?
I think it's just the _ Crimebusters. I think it's just the
Crimebusters.
Crimebusters. I tend to mostly just post about whatever campaign I'm currently doing. YouTube is where I really do most of my stuff.
Gotcha.
I don't do Twitter or Facebook, so it's pretty much just those.
Probably better off.
Yeah.
I hate it. I'm barely on Facebook, but I do a lot of Twitter. But it's tough, connecting with people there. So I understand that. CL, how about you? Is there anything else you'd like to promote while you're here?
I think I'd just like to highlight the other creators. So Brian Lacey has his comic Just Star, and then Manuel has Project New Wave, and Micah is a busy dude. Let me tell you, that guy's all over the place.
Micah is a busy dude.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, he does Vixen for DC and Webtoon. He does the Disasters. He does tons of stuff. So just I'm most active on Instagram, and I have a link tree that goes to everything else, including the Kickstarter and the totally unofficial Avandrus Theory Spotify playlist if you want more of those 80s metal vibes.
Very fun.
Just check everybody out. I know Manuel and I and Micah are on Twitter, and then I think we're all on Facebook as well. So just go explore, go find us.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. How about you, Johnny? Anything you want to promote this week?
Nothing really to promote, but I want to just take a quick minute to thank you, Scott. Thank you, CL, for coming on the show. Taking your time out of your evening to share your artwork and your projects with us. Greatly appreciate it. I want to just let everybody know to go out there and back Avandrus Theory, back the Crimebusters. They're two awesome projects, all complete already, so they're ready to go as soon as they hit, right. So go out there and support this, some great indie work.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. I want to reiterate what Johnny said. Thank you both for being on the show. Thank you, CL, for stepping in when Manuel couldn't make it on.
Thank you,
Manuel calls and I answer. So
Manuel, I don't know what computer he has.
Yeah.
What he must be using a browser from like 20 years ago or something.
He's got
Internet
Netscape.
Explorer. That's what it was. They just canceled it, so.
He's using AOL dial-up.
But you know what? I'm gonna reach out to him on Instagram and I'll see if he wants to do like. We won't do another live show, but I have that 5 questions.
The 5 questions
creator that he might want to do, and we could
probably schedule him for the future too.
Yeah, or have him down
it doesn't
the road.
have to necessarily be during
another
some time you're promoting
Kickstarter
something. Yeah,
maybe we'll see you issue 2. Who knows?
Yeah, there you go.
That sounds good.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
So,
and
then if you have any money left from backing these 2 gentlemen, check out Mighty Mascots on Indiegogo. 7, 8, 9 is available, and along with the previous issues. So check that out. Johnny, we'll have to discuss. So we didn't even say with the audience, but maybe Monday night might not be too bad. I mean, the audience seems to be about the same.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
it'll work. What do you got? If you guys like Monday nights, let us know, because we were gonna do Tuesday as the final night, but maybe Monday might be better. I don't know.
Yeah, it might not be so bad. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to play it by ear.
We'll talk. And we're also in March. We're moving to 8:30 p.m. too, as well. So we'll either be 8:30 on Mondays or Tuesdays. So
we'll just roll the dice. One time will be Monday. One time will be Tuesday. We'll just show up.
Yeah. just keep those. Well, that's a good reason to subscribe and hit the bell and get those notifications,
you find out. Pop
definitely.
Up.
But all right, well, I'm going to end this episode. Any last words before we say goodnight to the audience?
Hope Ghost Scott doesn't haunt you guys too bad.
Yeah.
Right,
Thanks.
guys.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Be kind and excellent to one another.
Yep. All right. And read some comics, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.